Have you ever felt that? You're chasing wins in your career or your business, and it just starts to lose its thrill? Well, according to Simon Sinek, there's a really good reason for that. We're playing the wrong game. You see, he argues that life and business aren't finite games with clear winners and losers. Nope, they're infinite games, where the real goal is simply to keep playing and to keep getting better. So let's dive into this idea because it's a real game changer.
All right, so here's our game plan for the next few minutes. We're going to break down the difference between winning and just playing. We'll look at the trap of short-term thinking that so many of us fall into, and then we'll get into the good stuff, the 3 essential ingredients for an infinite mindset. That's having a just cause, finding a worthy rival, and learning how to rethink the rules.
Okay, first things first, winning versus playing. We've got to understand the 2 basic types of games that exist.
So it's actually pretty simple. On one hand, you've got a finite game, like a football match. The players are known, the rules are fixed, and there's a clear objective: win the game. But then you have an infinite game. Here, there are known and unknown players. The rules can change at any moment, and the objective? Well, it's not to win, it's just to keep the game going. And that, right there, leads us to the big question. Think about it. In business, there are no fixed rules. New competitors can pop up literally overnight, and there's no finish line. Nobody ever gets declared the winner of business. So, which game are we really playing?
Here's the problem. Too many leaders are trying to play an infinite game with a finite mindset. And that leads directly to what's called the finite mindset trap. And believe me, it comes with a seriously high cost.
When your entire focus is just on hitting the next quarterly target, beating the competition this one time, chasing that win, eventually that drive just fizzles out. It's an endless chase for something that was never the point, and it leads straight to burnout and losing your passion for the work itself. And this isn't just a feeling. You can see the real-world damage it causes. Finite-minded leaders make decisions that might look good on a spreadsheet for a quarter, like laying people off to make the numbers, but they're absolutely killing the company's long-term ability to innovate. They sacrifice trust and morale, all for a temporary victory.
So how do we get out of this trap? Well, the first step, the first enabler, is to find a just cause. This is your why. It's the vision that gives you the fuel to keep playing, long after any single win or loss is forgotten. Wow. This quote comes from an absolutely incredible story. During the Nazi siege of Leningrad in World War II, scientists at a seed bank literally starved to death while they were surrounded by tons of edible seeds and potatoes. Why would they do that? Because they were protecting something bigger than themselves, the cause of global food security for generations they would never even meet. That right there is the power of a just cause. So what is a just cause, really? It's not some generic mission statement you hang on a wall. It's a specific idealistic vision of the future. It's about serving others. It's got to be inspiring, and it's something you and your team would be willing to make real sacrifices for. For instance, Henry Ford wasn't just trying to be the #1 car seller. His cause was to open the highways to all mankind. He wanted to democratize transportation. More recently, CBS showed its commitment to its cause of getting people on the path to better health when they made the incredibly tough financial decision to stop selling cigarettes in their stores. That's a just cause in action. So how do you find yours? You can start by asking these kinds of questions. What's the change you want to make in the world? What are you willing to sacrifice for? What's the big, idealistic vision that's so exciting other people will be inspired to help you build it? The answer to that? That's where your just cause lives. All right, let's move on to the second enabler. And this one really flips the whole idea of competition on its head. It's not about finding an enemy you need to crush. It's about finding a worthy rival, someone who makes you better. I mean, just think about Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal. Their rivalry wasn't just about who won the trophy. They pushed each other to become better, stronger, more creative players. They were constantly learning from each other. And in doing so, they elevated the entire sport of tennis for everyone. A worthy rival basically holds up a mirror and shows you your own weaknesses, inspiring you to improve. Ford didn't see Toyota as a threat to be destroyed, they saw them as an inspiration. Toyota's unbelievable quality standards forced Ford to totally rethink how they built cars and get way, way better. And sometimes a worthy rival is the key to figuring out who you are. Back in the 80s, Apple used the corporate giant IBM as its foil. By defining themselves against IBM, Apple was able to sharpen its own just cause. If IBM was for the big corporation, then Apple was for the individual, the rebel, the creator. And that brings us to our third and final enabler. Sinek calls it existential flexibility. It's a mouthful, but it just means having the courage to totally blow up your own business model to completely change how you play the game in order to better advance your cause.
Let's circle back to that key distinction. In a finite game, the rules are fixed. But in the infinite game of business, the rules are always changing. And the single biggest danger is getting so comfortable with today's rules that you think they'll last forever. If you want the perfect, and I mean perfect, cautionary tale, look no further than Blockbuster. They played by a rigid set of rules. People come to our stores, they rent physical movies, and they pay annoying late fees. But Netflix, an infinite-minded player, saw those rules and thought they were ridiculous. They rewrote the whole playbook to better serve their cause of entertaining people. And, well, we all know how that story ended. Sinek has this fantastic analogy for it. He says an infinite player is like a hiker who's always looking for a better path to the summit, not just blindly sticking to the trail that's already marked. They're always looking at the horizon for a new technology, a new business model, any better path to advance their vision. Okay, so let's bring it all home. Playing the infinite game means making a fundamental shift away from short-term wins and toward long-term vision and strength.
So here's the playbook, right here. You have to identify your just cause. You need to find a worthy rival who forces you to get better. You must have the courage to rethink the rules to advance that cause. And maybe most importantly, you have to prioritize your purpose and your people, and let profits be the fuel, the resource that allows you to keep playing, not the goal of the game itself.
And that's really what this all comes down to. You don't get a choice. In your business, in your career, in your life, you are already playing an infinite game. The only choice you have is how you're going to play it. Are you going to play for the next win, or are you going to play to stay in the game, to advance a cause that will long outlast you? The choice is yours.